Who the fuck are you? Me? I'm Nobody, which is a song by Keith Sweat that came out all the way back in 1996. Nobody is also what some of the ladies describe me as after their husbands get home. Nobody is also an action flick where Bob Odenkirk, yes, Better Call Saul himself, is Hutch, a man that is just trying to live a quiet life with his children and his wife Connie Nielsen. And if you're married to Connie Nielsen, if you even get a goddamn crack at getting close to a goddess like Connie Nielsen, you do everything you can to protect her. Yes, I'm still on the Connie Nielsen love train. I have been since goddamn Gladiator. She looks incredible. She will always look incredible. Blessed be Connie Nielsen. So Hutch basically is living this quiet life, a routine life, shall we say. A robbery happens where he doesn't do what you think somebody would do in that particular situation, but then that sets off a chain of events where we find out that Hutch isn't just, well, he's not nobody. He is somebody that has a particular set of skills that make him a nightmare for people that get in his way and try to mess with his family. So it's a goopy action flick from the director of Hardcore Henry as well as Heads of State. I need to actually check out Hardcore Henry again because I remember kind of having different opinions on it. And because Nobody 2, Electric Hutch Boogaloo, is going to be coming out in just a couple weeks, I decided to actually watch this for the first time. I've seen a couple scenes, hadn't had a chance to watch it in full, just got away from me. And this came out about 4 years ago, and I finally decided, let me see if it's available on any streaming service. It is. If you have a Prime membership, you got to put up with a few ads, but you can see films like this. So, this is fun. It's stripped down and silly. It has Christopher Lloyd wielding shotguns. It has RZA as Harry, who I assume is the adopted brother, the brother from another mother, as it were, who also has a particular set of skills. And we find out just enough about Hutch. And Bob takes enough damage as somebody that actually can take damage, but he also is very, very skilled and can take multiple people out even on a bus or wherever. And if you have not seen this movie, basically it is just him after a bit of setup and, finally just stoking the fire, shall we say, and just enough indication that Hutch is not somebody you want to mess with. Then things kick into gear once we have some mobsters that appear on a bus. And then he wages war against people that mess with his family. That's pretty much it. It's from the writer of the John Wick films, among other projects. I actually need to go back and rewatch all the John Wick films. And I will end up actually doing full reviews of those at some point. I have a lot of films to catch up on. I have a lot of current films still to watch before the end of this year as I soar towards, God forbid, if I get to 336 like I got to last year. I'm at about half that, in all honesty, so holy fucking shit. But nevertheless, Connie Nielsen, blessed be Connie Nielsen. I will stop praising Connie Nielsen one day, but that's not today. And we start in the beginning, which is always a good sign. And there will be spoilers from now on, just so you know. That's your setup. That's your goddamn setup. There's your spoiler warning. We start in the beginning where he's being interrogated by cops. He smokes a cigarette. He takes a can of cat food out and a kitten out of his goddamn jacket and feeds it. And they say, who the fuck are you? Me, I'm. And then we hit the title Nobody. And Michael Ironside is in this, what's left of him. And you had Humberly Gonzalez, who's in this. And I know what character she was in Jesus, with respect. But, yeah, normal family man gets pushed too far. $16 million budget, $6.8 million opening. Considering 2021 is when some theaters were limiting their times. It was still the pandemic. Things were starting to get more back to normal by the summer of 2021, but it really didn't kick in until the spring of 2022. Had a $27.5 million U.S. gross and would make $30 million more on top of that, so $57.5 million worldwide. So a sequel, sure, why not? I think the sequel could end up doing well because this has gotten quite a bit of attention, especially on streaming. So we get a killer soundtrack, by the way. It's like the What a Wonderful World drop. That was really goddamn cool. This actually was based on an idea that Bob had with a robbery that happened at his place, a home invasion. He trapped the people in the basement, but the authorities didn't necessarily handle it all that well. And he thought, well, what would it be like if I did this? Oh Lord, please don't let me be caught sporting wood. I think that's the song, but no, in all seriousness, oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. Kind of opens this thing and closes this thing. When the robbery ends up going tits up, his son actually tackles one of them, and it turns out that these robbers actually were doing it for a particular reason. Now, the daughter talks about how she has misplaced her kitty bracelet. She's talked about wanting to get a cat, hence why we have the kitten. Obviously, when they're, I believe nobody chooses when they go on vacation. They're going to have the cat, I hope. Probably not the same cat, but nevertheless. So the son's kind of disappointed that he didn't really take the shot, but it turns out that he knew that the gun was empty and that it actually was just used as a scare tactic. These people really didn't want to do that. Christopher Lloyd is his dad, and seems like he's not, he's just kind of a dog or an old man, but he's former FBI. And basically, Hutch decides to take revenge eventually, kind of. And he ends up, just building up his, I don't even want to say building up a tolerance of pain, just building up, like, the action and stuff like that. He talks to Harry, and Harry is RZA, or RZA. I don't actually know if that's how you say it. I have no idea. It's like how I don't know if SCA is SZA or what. RZA and SZA. God, people are weird. But Hutch kind of looks for evidence. There was a tattoo that he saw on the wrist of one of the people, and he flashes a wad of cash to some people, and he also has cards on his wrist, which I think means former military based on how one character reacts. And he ends up basically finding out where the people live. So he beats the shit out of the guy, or pops him a few times, and is like, where's the watch? Where's the bracelet? God, did they give me the goddamn kitty bracelet? The kitty bracelet, by the way, actually was in the house later. But he's about to really do something. He hears a kid crying and sees that the kid's on some kind of ventilator thing and realizes, okay, they're not great people, but they were desperate for some kind of money. So, okay, he couldn't do that. But then he gets on the bus, and then some Russian guys, or associates of this guy Yulian, who's the main villain, and I have to say that's probably the weakest thing about this, is the villain and the villains in general. Pretty goddamn weak standard villains. And he ends up beating up a whole bunch of them because they kept harassing a few people there, but especially the young girl. And he wouldn't take a line down. He did get knifed, he did get beaten, but he would end up destroying them. He took the bullets out of his gun and was beating them up, bashing one guy's face against a pipe, takes one of the bars, hits the guy in the throat. Turned out to be Julian's brother. Makes like one of those trach things that they did for like Eric Stoltz in Anaconda when he got that bug in his throat. If anybody remembers what I'm saying, you're far, in the film like I am. Julian then is a standard villain. So he does all that stuff on the bus. Julian, I don't know, he just kind of is what he is. It's called the Obshak, which is like a money laundering scheme thing. He kind of wants to get out of it, but he can't. He ends up killing one guy and earning his 3% share, or the 3% share goes to the other Russian guys. It's fine, it doesn't matter. And basically these guys end up finding out where he lives. He has a retrofitted basement with some good stuff, and also to keep the family safe. And tells his wife not to call 911. And his wife knows about his particular set of skills, but thought he left that life behind, but she's still willing to be there for him. Again, protecting Connie Nielsen would be something that anybody could identify with. So, guns can't stop him, but he does get tased, and he gets trapped in the trunk, and then manages to break through the back seat with the fire extinguisher, blinds all of them, the car crashes, and he ends up they basically end up dead. And no matter how many guys Julian sends after him, it doesn't work. And there's also this side plot where he wants to buy the business that he's currently working at. And there's this older guy and also this guy Charlie, who I think he says he's the brother of Becca. I think he's supposed to be, but it is what it is. He does hand him a gun earlier, by the way, that he puts in the freezer, that Hutch does. More on that in a minute. And basically, he ends up sending the family away, and then is talking to the various henchmen, aka the one that's left, and says there was this guy named Alan that skimmed a bunch of money, and I was supposed to kill him. But he genuinely seemed sorry, so I came back a year later to check on him, expecting him to go back into the fold. He was living in Boise, Idaho, with a wife, children, who came with 2 kids, gross, and also a child on the way, and they had a dog, and I was jealous. So I decided to get out of this thing, and you guys almost had me fully, I was almost fully out of it, and then you guys brought me back in, so now you almost pay. We get What a Wonderful World playing as the house burns down. Bit excessive. I think you probably could have moved some of your stuff out, but okay. It's probably where most of the budget went. And he steals the neighbor's Challenger car, the big old muscle car that the neighbor referenced earlier, and I'm about to go 0 to 60, and I'm about to fucking find out. And then 2 guys tried to go Dino Bravo style to kill Christopher Lloyd, but Christopher Lloyd has a shotgun and blows them both away. And then the orderly comes to check on him because it's a retirement home and asks him to turn it down. He's actually covering the mouth of one guy that's still kind of alive, but not for long. And then he decides to buy the goddamn business, Hutch does, with gold, because he likes gold. Makes a bunch of weapons, has a bunch of weapons, makes jars that will explode to have screws and everything in them, so that's going to be pretty gory. And even has rebar guns that he just has set up, because why not at this point? It's like Equalizer, if Equalizer was less dialed down. Because Equalizer is pretty dialed down. I miss Equalizer 3. Namely, I miss the gorgeous woman that was the waitress. I wonder how she's doing. That being said, I can't remember her name. It's something very Italian. But he ends up actually going to talk to Julian. This is after, by the way, killing a bunch of guys. And burning all the Obshuck stuff down. And says, I burned all your stuff down. You should have a nest egg. You can either rebuild, reinvest, but I don't think you want to or have the ability to, and we both walk away. You ended up coming after my family. Otherwise, I pull this pin and we all blow up because he's got a bomb. And then that doesn't really work. Then we get a car chase where Pat Benatar's Heartbreaker plays. And then fuck your physics, we're just going to have cars flip over, stuff blow up, because why not at this point? When the John Wick franchise seems more grounded, that's certainly saying something. And he ends up getting back to his work base now. Oh, and Dad and brother Harry are there, or Rizza. And that's kind of funny. They're there and blowing stuff up and shooting people up. Christopher Lloyd doesn't get shot because, God bless him, I don't think they could have used squibs on him at that point because the man's older than dirt. Bless Christopher Lloyd. But Harry gets shot once, and then basically Hutch thinks he's going to have to sacrifice himself, and has the bomb attached to this this supposed to be shatterproof glass, but basically he ends up blowing up Julian and getting sent back. And then he sends his brother and father away so he can deal with the cops. Before the cops arrive, he hears of the kittens in the duct, hence the kitten. He's with the cops. The cops get a call from somebody, and then he's seemingly let go because 3 months later they're getting another house. And then the realtor gets a call. It's for you. It's from unknown. It's probably from somebody from his syndicate or whatever, because they hurt people. And nobody's going to get that unless you're a wrestling fan. And does it come with a basement? Oh, and Dad and Harry are going to give them a whole bunch of guns. Because we need a sequel. The movie is not high art, but it ends up being pretty fun overall. B+ for the entertainment. It's not great, but it's fun. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentlin. Until we meet again, happy trails to you.